Welcome back to Call of Duty Mobile, everybody. Today we're back, and today we're going to be going over the very best settings you need to have enabled to play better and to have a more lag-free experience on your phone. And we're going to be kicking that off in the upper right-hand corner at that gear icon where you do have the settings menu. There are two modes, the simple mode and the advanced mode. I highly recommend the advanced mode because it just lets you do more with it, and then you guys can see that you actually have a couple of options as well with the advanced mode, beginning with the one-tap ADS, hip fire, and custom. So pretty much what this allows you to do is what you guys are seeing in that little photo right there, where as you kind of click the fire button, your person will actually zoom in before they start firing. You can actually click on the gear icon and customize what you want each of the guns to do. Some people have said they like to have it hip fire, but especially if you're playing on a phone, it's actually really handy to have everything kind of combined into one button, especially if one thing that I've been doing with a lot of my classes is actually trying to ensure that they have, there's a certain attachment that makes life amazing. Quick Draw SMG, which will increase your aim speed, which is going to be incredible for pretty much being able to fire almost instantly and being very accurate. Along with that, just in terms of some loadouts I like to have the stock SMG, which increases move speed while aiming, and the foregrip, which reduces recoil while aiming. Just overall trying to make the aiming experience as good as possible, because that's where I've found a lot of good success. So then back to the shooting mode. This could be up to a little bit more personal preference, but especially if you're playing on a phone, screen real estate is obviously limited, so being able to kind of have everything at the tap of a single button is very handy. So pretty much I have aim down sights enabled for every gun except hip fire, and then you also, if you have this setting, you need to enable it. It is called the 3D touch aim. Pretty much what that lets you do is you never need to take your finger or your thumb off of your phone to shoot. So pretty much what it does is it uses the 3D touch technology in certain phones. I think a lot of iPhones have it, for example, and even iPads. And what it does is if you press down hard enough, your person will start shooting. So you don't need to press a dedicated shoot button. You can actually just be looking around, right? Just like aiming and like just looking around. And then once you press down hard enough, you will actually start shooting. And once you stop pressing a certain amount of hardness, you will actually stop shooting, and you can continue just looking around without ever needing to lift your thumb off of your screen, which makes for a really smooth experience. And ever since I found out about this setting, I've been going extra beast mode, so definitely something that I would recommend. Personally, I have them set pretty high because like I don't want to accidentally trigger it and accidentally do like a fire, like a shot that I shouldn't have to do. So at least for me, I found that 70 for starting to touch fire and then 50 for being how hard you press for stopping the fire. I found that to be like a pretty good little mix. Definitely fiddle around with it though and kind of find what works best for you, because I just get super stressed out during games and I press it really hard, and like I don't want to accidentally like have to, I don't know, I just want to avoid the situation where you accidentally fire when you shouldn't, but you want to still be able to kind of like enable the touch fire pretty easily. So for me, pressing down a little bit harder usually isn't too bad of a deal. So that is really handy, and it does help you consolidate. And instead of needing like a fire button and a look around button like here in the custom layout, you can see that I do have right here this fire button. This doesn't even appear on my layout. Like you don't need to press that. You just look around using the right side of the screen, and whenever I want to shoot, I just press it and I start shooting. In terms of my button layout, this is going to be a lot of personal preference, but mainly the way I use it is on the left-hand side. The only thing that really matters to me is this thing, like the joystick. That's the name of it. And yeah, I don't really use the fire button or anything on the left side of the screen. It's just kind of there in case of emergency, but for the most part, I use this. I also shifted this kind of like thing over here, like the HUD. I kind of shifted it a little bit to the left, so it's easier to kind of like press the kill streaks with my left button or with my left hand, and also to be able to press the different guns as well, to switch between those. And then on the right hand side, usually I'll have my finger actually right where like this is. That's kind of my default position for where I place my finger. And then due to that, I kind of want to have all the buttons easily accessible. So I have the jump up button kind of like above that. I have the crouch button to the left of it, which by the way is also how you slide in game. So you want to make sure that this is easily accessible. We also have the reload button here. Just overall, I want to have all those different actions very close and easily accessible from where my right thumb is for the most of the time. And I do also have this aim down sight button. Personally, I know this is a lot of personal preference. Some people like to have a dedicated aim down sight button and to use it instead of like what I'm talking about here, where you can actually like just press the fire button and you start aiming down your sights right away. So this is going to be up to personal preference. Personally, I've been enjoying it more just using the fire button and aiming down automatically. But if you do want to have the hip fire, or not the hip fire, but the whatchamacallit, the aim down sight button anywhere, I'd recommend having it relatively close to where your fire button might be. And again, I just want to have it all kind of close to this central area where I tend to have my thumb, so I can just kind of like tap it really quickly and then go back to aiming around. So there you guys have like the main positions of where I'm putting some of that stuff. So there we have the layout wrapped up. Now let's go over to basic and start having a couple of the settings enabled. Aim assist, you definitely want to have that enabled. Pretty much what that allows you to do is if you are kind of close to aiming at someone when you aim down your sights, it'll have like a little bit of gravitation, like it will kind of pull your sight to where the enemy is, just to make up for the fact that at times mobile might not have the most accurate of shooting controls, so that's just like a little bit of a makeup method to try and help out with that. So it's definitely a good thing to have enabled, and pretty much everyone has it enabled by default. Quick running from prone, pretty much what that allows you to do is if you start running, it should get you out of the prone position, so you want to have that enabled. Fixed right fire button is just so your right button, like that does the shoot team, it shoots. That's just like in a fixed place. The fast throw grenade allows you to tap the grenade button and pretty much it will automatically throw the grenade. The way that it is, if it's disabled like it is right now, is that you tap the grenade and then it'll actually pull out the grenade and you can aim it and you have a chance to kind of think before you throw it. But if you enable the fast throw grenade, as soon as you press the grenade button, you're throwing that puppy. Joystick auto sprint is pretty much when you are moving around with the joystick. If you move it far enough up, you will actually enable auto sprint. So I usually like to have that enabled because it just lets you kind of like, I don't know, if you need a breather, if you know that you gotta like move up and you gotta run forward for a couple seconds anyway, you enable it, give your hands a second to kind of like reset themselves, and it's just a good setting to have. Like, even if it's enabled, you don't necessarily have to use it, if that makes sense. Fixed joystick, I would recommend not having enabled, because what that does is that your joystick, with it disabled, pretty much anywhere you touch on the left hand of the screen that isn't like a button for something else like shooting, that is where your joystick will actually be kind of like anchored at, and then where you move your thumb from there is where it's based off of. If you have a fixed joystick, it's always going to be in the same position, so it just makes it a little bit odd when you're moving around, and I wouldn't really recommend it. It's definitely a lot easier to have a non-fixed joystick. In terms of ADS, just a single tap to ADS tends to work the best for me whenever I do use it. Displaying the left fire button, I have it there just in case, but personally, the way I play, I don't really use it at all, and I've been doing just great without it. Sliding while running. Sliding is incredibly OP. That's something that you guys will see me do in my gameplay a little bit later that I'm showing off of this, but yeah, you just want to be able to very quickly slide. Holding crouch while sprinting is going to take a lot longer to enable, so just kind of tapping it is going to make it easier and more on demand to actually begin a slide. So with always sprint, I'd recommend not having that enabled because you don't want to be sprinting all the time when you're moving, because when you're sprinting, it also takes a little bit longer for you to pull out your gun and actually do like aim down sight, so it's definitely a bit situational. I kind of sprint most of the time anyway, but you definitely don't want to limit yourself to always sprinting. The sensitivity is pretty much how far up you need to slide your thumb, so when you're like moving and you have that kind of like sprint button that you can like enable to auto sprint, the sensitivity will determine kind of like how far you need to swipe up before it enables that. Gyroscope is kind of insane. If you want to try and master this, you probably have a lot more potential to be a lot more accurate, but long story short, that's pretty much where you can actually like moving your phone like that, or that will actually move your person's aim as well. So like if I'm aiming straight forward and I have my phone like this, if I move to the left, my guy will also like look around as I move my phone around. So it's pretty insane to get down. But if you do master it, it does have some pretty big connotations for like being insane with accuracy, but yeah, it's really advanced, and also you might accidentally like hit someone next to you, so definitely not something to do while you're on the train. Here we have the camera field of view. By default, it's gonna be at 60, but you can bring it all the way up to 75 if you want, and it might seem a little bit weird at first. It's probably a good idea to do that because field of view pretty much affects how much you can see. So let's say that you can only see like that much in front of you, right? If you increase your field of view, you now have a wider field that shows up on your screen. So everything's gonna look a bit more zoomed out and a bit distorted at first, but you're literally gonna be able to see more than you would otherwise be able to see. So it's gonna be weird to get used to, but it will literally give you the advantage of like seeing it more and potentially seeing an enemy right on the edge of your screen that you wouldn't otherwise have been able to see. And resetting weapon aim, I just have that turned off. Let's move on to audio and graphics, where this is gonna be, if you really want to go ham, egg, and cheese, you want to make sure your frame rate is set on max and your graphic quality is set on low. What this will do is pretty much let your phone run as smoothly as possible, because with graphic quality on low, everything that would, like, it's not gonna look as pretty, that's a fact, but if you just want to play really well, having the graphic quality on low will allow you to pretty much maximize the frame rate that you get, and for as smooth of an experience as possible with literally the minimum chance at experiencing lag that you can have. Now, personally, I like to have it up here on a high, but like I'm saying, if you really want to go try hard, go max on the frame rate, go low on the graphic quality, and that should also help some of y'all with some maybe like older phones be able to run this smoothly as well, because Call of Duty Mobile runs surprisingly smoothly. And then you can also pick and choose a couple of options here, like depth of field, real-time shadow, ragdoll, anti-aliasing, and if you bring it up to very high over here, you even have the opportunity to choose bloom as an option. Bloom is kind of like that lighting effect that you get, for example, when you look at the sun, that makes the sun look a little bit more pretty. Depth of field is this effect that pretty much whatever you're looking at is in focus, and kind of things behind it and things in front of it might be slightly out of focus. It just tries to gives this very kind of like very realistic type experience, because like, you know, when you're focusing on something, like everything besides that thing's like a little bit out of focus, just like in real life, so that kind of tries to replicate that. But with every one of these settings, having it enabled does make your game do more graphical processing, which might in turn cause lag or maybe drain your battery a little bit more. So if you want to maximize everything that you have, again, graphic quality on low, frame rate on high, and do not have depth of field enabled. Real-time shadow is pretty much the ability for moving objects, like a person, to have a shadow being cast from them. Again, that uses up a lot of graphical processing power, so same thing that I was talking about. Ragdolling is just if you kill someone, their body can actually like ragdoll around, and it kind of has like some physics associated with it. Again, that takes more processing power to actually like process a person freaking ragdolling around. Anti-aliasing pretty much helps smooth out some things that otherwise might look a little bit rough around the edges. Anti-aliasing is just, it makes the game look smoother. It makes the game look nicer, because it does kind of like prevent jagged edges, or do what it can to prevent jagged edges from occurring. You can also pick your Battle Royale mode graphic style. Again, if you want to be able to maximize your settings, standard is probably what you want to rock with, and you can also adjust your screen, but I'm pretty happy with how my screen is right now. But so pretty much it's just like adjust where the left and right boundaries of your screen are. So if I move it to 100%, you guys can see that it moves in. If I move it to 0%, it moves to the side. So like, again, this is going to be a lot of personal preference, but I kind of like having it at just like totally wide, because that gives us the most screen real estate to work with. And next up, let's go over the sensitivities. So a lot of this is going to be more so up to personal preference and just kind of how you like it to be. But if you do follow my advice and enable this 3D touch aim, where you can kind of like, without moving your thumb ever off the screen, you can zoom in and zoom out and like fire without ever lifting your thumb up. Kind of what I would recommend doing is trying to have a higher standard sensitivity than your aim down sight sensitivity. And the reason for that is pretty much if you're aiming at someone, right, and you want to be shooting at them, it allows you to kind of be more accurate when you are aiming down your sights. And even if they like move a lot to the left and right, and you have to like use a lot of sensitivity to move a lot to the left, at that point you can just zoom out, never lift up your thumb, move over to the left really quickly, and then start pressing hard down on the screen again, and you'll start shooting. So especially with 3D touch aim, I would recommend having a higher standard sensitivity versus an aim down sight sensitivity. But otherwise, definitely just fiddle around with the game and figure out what works best for you. Probably going to depend on how big your phone is, how much screen real estate you got to work with, if you're on an iPad, a couple of things like that. But pretty much higher sensitivity means the further you look for moving your thumb across the screen. Lower sensitivity, you will look less in certain directions. And that about wraps it up in terms of the settings. You also have your Battle Royale settings, but I'm not going to be going over Battle Royale, just kind of going over general settings, quick messages, languages, and other. Again, nothing super crazy, so without further ado, let's hop into a game and let's kind of try to show off some of these settings in action and how I use them to a pretty strong advantage. So here we are in game, and I'm going to be showing off a couple of those features that I was talking about, including, if you guys see, my thumb is staying on the screen this entire time, and if I press down hard enough, I start shooting, and if I stop pressing a certain amount of hardness, I stop. I literally never need to lift my thumb off the screen, but I can look and aim whenever I want. This is such an incredibly useful power, and also, as you guys can see, if I'm moving, like, I'm moving the same amount of distance right now as I'm looking around, but if I start aiming, right, okay, I can't aim right now, but I am in a second, but as I start aiming, I'll actually look around a little bit slower, which is where I kind of wanted to introduce that two sensitivities idea. Like, if you guys see, I'm looking around that hard, right, and then when I'm zoomed in, I don't, like, look as wide. I don't look as quickly, so it's just kind of good because if you're focus firing on someone, it lets you kind of aim down relatively easily at them. But then if you're just kind of like in a general view, you can look around. And it's really nice for actually being able to pick and choose between targets, for example. Oh, what's up, my dude? Yeet! Because once, like, whatchamacall, you can just, like, zoom out, and then, if you come, like, blah, English is hard. You can just zoom out by stop pressing a certain amount. And then, you should be able to find yourself. Okay, where is everybody, bruh? Seriously. I'm not able to find a single person right here. But always make sure that you are sliding as well. Incredibly useful. I think I hear someone upstairs. Maybe? No? Behind me? I definitely hear somebody. Where are you at, my broski? Are you down here? Oh! Good morning. Hey, good stuff. But yeah, just being able to, like, look around a little bit quicker when you unscope, it lets you kind of switch between targets relatively easily. And it helps you just kind of focus fire when you are aimed in like that. So it's a little bit weird at first. Whenever, like, that's gonna be the case whenever you mess with, like, any settings, right? But overall, it's a very powerful tool, as you guys are seeing. And especially if you can aim down your sights quickly, like, that is where the power of this stuff really comes in handy. Okay, I was supposed to slide that time. It didn't really work, but YOLO. We're actually having a pretty good game over here, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe this is our Nuki game, finally. I probably just jinxed it, so probably not, but... Oh, I saw you over there, my guy. Hopefully this is a good indicator, too, of just, like, having all these controls easily accessible. Being able to slide super quickly. It's just, all in all, like... Sliding is definitely OP. You want to slide as much as you can whenever you can. Because it just makes you harder to hit than someone just running head first, right? Especially if you're, like, turning a corner. It can catch people off guard. And seriously, the power to never have to lift your thumb off the screen, it just lets you do so much than you otherwise might be able to do. And I kind of like having the jump button above the crouch button, because it just makes sense for me. You know, jump up, crouch down. Let's put in that work, baby. Oh, we got the sentry gun, too. Let's, get this active, shall we? About to murk some dudes. Hello, everybody. Where are you? I want kills. Seriously, where are these peeps? Oh, I saw someone up in that window. Yeah, being in this middle area on this map, by the way, very sketchy. I'm gonna try and turn this corner a little bit. Oh, no! How'd that guy get to the right of me? Dang. Big potato hours. I was on a nice little 9-kill streak, man. Yeah, and sometimes, like, I still do that accidental fire, but that usually just means that I really pressed down too hard, and I probably should have reconsidered. There we go. Seriously, baby. Sliding is insane.
Objective almost complete. Keep it up.
Yeah, we got this in the bag. These dudes are getting that work. But just overall, it is pretty accessible, and like you guys are seeing, you don't really need to be able to, like, dedicatedly aim down your sights, like aim down and then shoot. Obviously you can still do it, but if you can aim down your sights quick enough, it's honestly, I don't really like hip firing, especially with some of these SMGs, because like aiming down your sights, you can still put in plenty of work, as I'm doing right now. I think someone just backspawned me. Yeet. Dude, I love this gun, seriously. PDW, by the way, I know this isn't a gun recommending video, but PDW is the good gun, dude. Dang, someone's got a stealth chopper? My guy. Let's get it. Was that the dub? We got the game-winning kill, baby. And there you guys have our controller scheme at work, at play. And I don't know, man. It works pretty well for me, and especially playing on a phone. It's super easy access. It's not like I'm using a claw or anything. I know technically speaking, you can try to use claw, but I feel like on a phone, claws are kind of a cluster truck. So being able to have like a very effective two-thumb scheme, it's definitely good, and especially, oh yeah, I like that. Barely edged him out for first place. Sorry, Explosive Man. I think it just overall, ooh, we just leveled up. We got the War Machine. Also, we just leveled up our PDW Royal Crimson, which, by the way, let me just kind of show this off really quick. Little bonus for today's video. I think that means we just unlocked, yeah, if we go through the upgrades, we just unlocked the double kill perk, where now every time we get a double kill, it will automatically add bullets into the clip. And next up at level 12 for the gun, we actually get our kills broadcasted with effects. So yeah, this PDW is dope. And PDW, you guys can see the reason I love this gun, that 90 damage and 50 fire rate, it makes it a great freaking murder machine. Like, its recoil's kind of iffy, but dude, this thing can put in some work. But there you guys have my controller scheme, and hopefully a relatively decent showcase of it and why I like it a lot. So I'd say probably the most important thing, a lot of things are up to personal preference, but if you have 3D touch aim, you need to enable that. It will make your life so much easier, because not having to lift your thumb up and just being able to always keep it on the screen, that's an incredible superpower. And you guys saw firsthand this kind of like aim down sight thing I was talking about, where when you shoot, you aim down your sights. Some people don't like it, but personally, I feel like it makes it very accessible and easy to play. And I don't know, I think it's gonna be a huge plus for a lot of y'all, especially because like we can even kill people at a distance. Like, I don't know. I don't really find myself in situations where I have to aim down my sights first and kind of like premeditate shots, but at least that's just the way I play it. But yeah, there you guys have my personal controller scheme and hopefully some good effects of it. So thank you guys all for tuning in. I'll talk to you in the next Call of Duty mobile video. Peace.